next step is bringing it over to the ride cymbal. We're going to follow that same fundamental pattern, but what you have to learn how to do is actually separate between your top and your bottom, and that's what this groove does. Let's check this out at tempo. Great, now we're going to take that same pattern and break it down at 60 on the metronome. Next step, here's where it gets a little tricky. What we're going to do here is find that same pattern. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what's going to happen next is we're actually going to move that pattern. Where we were doing it with our hands, second measure, we're going to accent the 3 part, 1, 2, 3, with our feet. And that's where it shifts a little bit. That's where it gets a little funny. The other thing you have to realize is once you get to the E end on the first measure, that ride cymbal doesn't stop. So 1 and up to E and up to E and 4 and 5 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and. That ride cymbal is just going to keep pounding through once you hit the end of 3 on the first measure. That's where it really gets interesting because now he's throwing out the time and the bass drum is going to fill in all those weak beats. So the first thing we're going to do to break this down, let's just take a look at the hands. And I want you to see what the ride cymbal is doing. Now what we're going to look at is the problem section. The problem section is the transition from the end of the first measure into the beginning of the second measure. This is where it gets a little dicey because this is where that ride cymbal keeps going and you're breaking from the original pattern. So I just want to run this section a couple of times very slow. So we're going to start right on beat 5. So 5 and a 1 and a. And I just want to make that feel good. 5 and a 1 and a. Once you have 5 and a 1 and a, I want you to practice bouncing the bass drum off of the ride cymbal. And it's going to feel like this. Now if you notice, what we have is the bass drum filling in the 3 part of this phrase. 1, to bum, bum, bum. And those are on the bass. 1, to bass, bass, bass. And those basses are moving against the ride cymbal. Then it's going to pick up, and then we're going to switch that to the 4 part where the snare drum is going to take over. So it's 1, to bass, 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 snare, 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 snare. 1, to bass, 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 snare, 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 snare. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Same pattern, but now you're splitting it between the 2 tops and bottoms of your drum set. Once you have everything all down, it'll sound like this. So that's going to take care of our intro groove. Of course, when we get to the last couple of measures, it's going to change up a little bit because we're going to go off to the chokes on the cymbal. But once again, that pattern is going to stay true. It's going to be 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's going to be it. Now let's talk about these hits a little bit. I'm not going to break them down here because I could spend a whole lesson just on breaking those down. Let me start by saying you're not crazy if you're having trouble finding where these hits are. I've tried transcribing it a million times as a kid, and even as an adult for students, what I found is basically they changed the tempo. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's not in the same speed as the first part, and it's not in the speed of the second part, which is the verse coming up. The drum hits that happen with the band are in unison, and you just kind of have to memorize them. After really studying it, what I've come to believe it is somewhat of a rallentandro, where everything is slowing down very gradually as they're going through these hits. I haven't really found a great way to do it, just by feeling it and listening to what they are and then trying to lock them in with the band. And if you listen to the song enough, like I have, and most people that know this song, you eventually do get it in your head where they come in and exactly how to line them up. I'll tell you that when I did it in the past as a student, what I would do is I would keep the original tempo down, and I believe it was 5.5 or 6 counts, one of those, of the original tempo before they start the actual drag into those hits. But again, I don't really count it all that much. I just kind of feel it out. But like I said, I don't want to go too crazy with these hits. They're fun to figure out, but I could spend a whole lesson just trying to work that out. So we're going to wrap up this lesson here on the intro groove. For the next lesson, we're going to skip ahead past the verse groove. Now the verse is a very basic type of rock thing, and if you just listen to the song, you'll start getting the pattern down. There's really nothing that complicated about it. I want to get into the chorus beat, which is the ride pattern. Very, very common Rush pattern. If you're a Rush fan, you listen to Neil Peart. He does this groove in almost every Rush song I could think of. But I want to break that down because it's a very cool linear type of beat. We'll take a look at that at our next lesson, and I'll see you then.